we have a period of time now which is relatively short before the additional expected demand drivers emerge. And so for just over a week, Exchequer hasn't been deploying funds for this purpose. I'll let anyone else jump in, but I have a view on this, which is different from my previous view. But I'd like to let anyone else speak first. Okay, so I'll jump in with my view. I think I was very surprised to see that we haven't had a day without originations. I was surprised to see that originations continue to be robust and that our single largest day of originations was April 19th. April 22nd was a very large day of originations. 17th and 16th were large days of originations. Yesterday was a large day. Sorry, today has already been and isn't even over a large day of origination. Now, parallel to this, we have, I think, as a community, gone balls to the walls. We've gone above and beyond in terms of making it clear, apparent, public, the risk of redemptions. To the extent that, potentially, I've heard people say, it's not good marketing. It makes them worried. So we've gone above and beyond, sort of highlighting the potential risk to line of credit users of redemptions, and yet the originations continue. My overall view is that we need to listen to the market. This is still a very early protocol, and so I have been in favor of trying to adjust and learn from it and adjust origination fees, etc. And in early on, when I initially introduced the idea of origination fees as high as 5%, there were a lot of people, and I think notably David Siroy, who said this would make the protocol extremely unattractive, and we should have C for 0. However, at the same time, I'm aware of the fact that the interest rate on an annualized basis being paid for Bitcoin lending today, where it's available, which is very, very few places, is frequently 12% or above. And so I thought the market might support 5%, and that anything less is potentially the protocol leaving money on the table. And that's fine. The protocol doesn't need to maximize revenue in that way. But I thought there was an argument to be made that potentially 5% origination fee wouldn't be too high. I think we should be looking to reduce origination fee as quickly as possible. I'd like to see it back at 2.5%. I'd like to reduce redemption fee to 0.5%. But what we're seeing is that despite the risk, which has been super well publicized, of redemptions, despite the high origination fee, there's still a market demand for these lines of credit. And basically, I'm coming back to what I started off by saying. I would prefer for us not to micromanage, not to try and manage interest rates like some central bank. Ideally, the protocol should have relatively few changes, including parameter changes of this kind. And we are mere mortals. We don't know. The market knows much better than us, and we need to listen to the market. And right now, the market is telling us, given the risk and given the origination fee, we're still happy to continue taking out these originations. And furthermore, even if the market, even if people are not saying exactly that, the fact that we've publicized and made clear what the risks are so significantly, I think at this point, it's fine to say caveat emptor, the user beware. If you're using lines of credit now, you should be aware of the risk. So we have potentially significant changes coming over the course of the coming week, additional changes over the course of the month, additional features which could help alleviate this. And I'm happy for us not to mess around with it right now and basically let the market do its thing. Sorry, that was... If no one else jumps in, I'd like to make the strongest argument I can against what I just said, to try and highlight the dilemma here. The reason that what I... Oh, perfect, okay. Alright, I would still like to try and make the strongest argument I can against what I and David Sorry seem to be agreeing around, which is this. There is the potential for long-term reputational damage to the Zero Protocol from users who open lines of credit, do not truly understand what's going on, get redeemed against. They wanted to hold on to their Bitcoin. They didn't lose any money, because when you get redeemed against, you don't lose money. But they ended up with dollars rather than Bitcoin. And then, there's 3 of these who become really pissed off and toxic, and they spend all of their time on Twitter and in our forums telling everyone it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a scam, they lied to me, they took my money, blah, 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 blah. There's the potential for reputational damage here. The reason I'm not super concerned by the potential for reputational damage is because everyone who's basically been using this has been an early user, and frankly, I think it's less than 500 users in total who have created lines of credit ever, less than or around 200 lines of credit currently in existence. This represents a sliver, a tiny fraction, a minute nothingness in terms of the potential total market. And it's much more important, I think, that we get ourselves ready for a much larger market rather than trying to optimize the experience around admittedly important early adopting sovereigns who are using this protocol, but probably are very aware of what they're doing and know why they are doing it in ways that we don't. So basically, to summarize the counter argument in one sentence, there's risk for reputational damage to the Zero Protocol. Short-term damage to the users, long-term reputational damage potentially. But again, this is all very much speculation.
This is One Digit. I have a few thoughts. First of all, Yago, you have a tremendous amount of background noise. It's very difficult to hear you. I don't know if you can get to a quieter spot or not, but anyway, I'm generally in agreement with what you're saying. I think probably the most important thing is for us to let the protocol do what the protocol does. and let people see that it actually works, that it actually defends the peg by allowing redemptions. And as long as people are at this point continuing to use it, I can't see any reason why we need to go and manually defend the peg in some way. I will take issue a little bit with saying that we've made it abundantly clear that redemption is a risk. I know we've done that in every possible forum we can. However, some people are going to come in and see that and come straight into the DApp, maybe from the website, which wouldn't highlight those kinds of risks. They're going to go straight into the DApp and say, hey, I can borrow some stablecoins with my Bitcoin. They'll plug it right in there, and they're not going to see that. And until we have a message, a disclaimer in the DApp, in the confirmation sequence, I don't think we're really informing people the way we need to. And I really think this needs to happen like right away. I know we have it planned, and I know it's in the works and all that. But I think it's kind of a drop everything and put that in there kind of thing. That's my opinion. But generally speaking, I think that we need to just let it show what it can do as far as keeping the peg, and let the market do what it's going to do, like you said. I also think that we need to, as soon as possible, reduce the fees, particularly the redemption fee, because right now, with the fee as it is, we're going to see a pretty serious deviation from 1-to-1. And so that needs to be dropped somewhat so that it can be defended better. So those are my thoughts.
Hey, this is Tekro. I hope you can hear me. I'm driving, so I will keep it very short. I would be very interested in lowering the redemption fees to 1.5% and to collect some data with regards to how the PEG reacts to this. So, if we reduce the redemption fee, do we see that the dollar PEG will be closer to, let's say, 98 cents instead of 96? So yeah, I would be in favor of that.
doing, again, this one digit. Can y'all go give us an update on when to expect that we would be able to borrow or lend or borrow dollars or lend dollars, that lending pool implementation?
That's already available.
Okay, I must have missed that. Okay, thanks.
I think we should put together a summary thread as we usually do for these calls. Allow 24 hours, and assuming nothing significant or there isn't, massive pushback on this idea, I will look to write up a SIP on the basis of the vote that has just occurred here.
Yeah, I have a question. Are we planning to add rewards to the dollar lending pool?
Currently, it would require a there's no there's work that is required to make that possible, and I. So we were planning to do that over the course of the last 2 weeks, but then it became apparent that it wasn't straightforward. And at this point, our sense is that let's launch the stability pool rewards. The lending pool tends to earn from borrowing anyway, and that becomes its own sort of incentive. And if it's then necessary to push it forward, and to add incentives, we can. But Circle of Tokens is currently in the midst of an effort to reduce SFR rewards, and this might be a a type of reward which is fairly redundant. So there's a number of people, Sacro, Sovereign Origin, One Digit, is you know this quite well, who are working on analysis of getting a better, more quantitative view on how to provide these rewards. Bottom line is, we can do it. It probably won't be available before the end of next sprint, which is Wednesday plus 2 weeks. So basically 3 weeks from now. And before that, we will have the stability pool rewards.
I'm just noticing that the dollar lending pool is very small. Probably 1/15 of the XUSD lending pool, and only about 1/7 of the available funds are being borrowed. So I'm not sure if that's because people don't want to borrow a dollar, or they don't want to, or they don't know about it. But I wonder if maybe we can do a little more pushing on the availability of that.
I'd agree.
Cheers all. See you
Bye bye.
Take care.